So my name is Tabitha, and today I'm going to be talking about vaccinations and why I think it's important to vaccinate your child, and why some people choose not to vaccinate their child. Um, no child should die from preventable diseases and stuff that we can immunize your child from, and they don't have to go through the disability and the hardship of having those diseases when we can prevent them. Vaccinations are not used to eradicate diseases. They're used just to prevent the spread of them and then become an epidemic. It kind of contains the area in which there was an outbreak of that stuff to where they can handle it before it becomes an issue again. The only disease that's ever been eradicated because of vaccines is smallpox, which there's not a vaccine for anymore because they don't have any reported cases of anymore. That disease has been eradicated. In the United States, there's no longer polio. That's no longer a problem here, although some children are still paralyzed and crippled from it in Africa and other countries that don't vaccinate their children like we do. Every year, 10.5 million children under the age of 5 die, and 2.5 million of them die from diseases that were preventable and able to be immunized against, which is a lot of kids each year. And that's in my position, it seems really like common sense to vaccinate your child, because why take the chance? I feel like the risk outweighs, or the benefit outweighs the risk in that department. So it seems like it's not something we should really have to discuss, but not everybody feels that way. Not only do I immunize my child because it saves my child's life and it keeps her from having to deal with those problems of those diseases, but I also immunize her to keep the other people safe, that people that I care about and love that necessarily can't always be, immunized, or they have problems with that. It saves time and it saves money from doctor visits and lost work and different things like that for your child being sick, for things that were totally preventable. Not only that, but it helps future generations from having to deal with diseases that are not an issue right now. But if people keep not immunizing their children, it could become an issue again. It is something could become a problem again. The people that say that vaccinations are bad think exactly the opposite. They think that they're not safe and effective, and that's why they don't immunize their children. A lot of them think that there's more toxins and poisons in the vaccines than is worth the which is, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, poisons and toxins, I'll trim that out. Poisons and toxins in the vaccine that are worse for them than the actual vaccine itself, which is not true. They have been proven safe and effective. Are there byproducts in the vaccine that I necessarily wouldn't inject into my child on, any other basis? Probably not, but the benefits outweigh the risk in the vaccines that we are given. The main reason that anti-vaxxers, as they're called, do not vaccinate their children is because they think there's a link between vaccinating their children and other health problems, whether it be autism, asthma, ADHD, different immunocompromised, the higher risk of SIDS. These have all been attributed in those and stated as a fact in those circles is why they don't vaccinate their children. Since the CDC has started keeping records of deaths associated by preventable vaccinated diseases, in 1950 there was 33,300 people that died from polio. In 2013 there was 1 in the United States. In 1950 there was 319,000 people that died from measles. In 2013, 187. That's like huge numbers. Hepatitis B went from 32,859 people dying to 1,700 people dying. These numbers seem alarming to me, but they're not necessarily alarming to everybody, and they see these numbers and think that it's no longer a problem, that these diseases aren't an issue anymore because the numbers are so low, and they've never had to deal with somebody that's had these symptoms or devastated by their death or disability from these issues. So they stop vaccinating their children in thinking that they're not important anymore. But these diseases will come back. They will become an issue again if we don't keep vaccinating our children and keep them under control. The only known study of this that's ever been done as far as being vaccinated to unvaccinated is in Japanese children. In 1974, 80% of Japanese children were vaccinated for the pertussis vaccine, which is whooping cough. That year they had 393 cases reported in Japan completely, 0 deaths from that. Not even 5 years later, only 10% of Japanese children were vaccinated. That year they had 13,000 cases and 41 deaths from something that is completely preventable that you can vaccinate for. It is every parent's choice and for their child what's best for them, their child and their family, and I understand that. And I agree with that, everybody should make their own choice. But just keep in mind that when you don't vaccinate your own child, you're making the choice for more than just your own child. It's not only putting that person at risk. So that's why I think you should vaccinate your children.
I have a question.
Okay?
So is it true that when you get the vaccinations, it doesn't prevent you from getting that disease, but not getting it as bad?
What happens when you actually get a vaccination, what happens is that disease basically triggers like a response in your killer T cells. And so those cells recognize it as a disease and they start eating it. And once they start eating it, the B cells in your body start secreting a antidote for it, basically. Something to start killing it. So once it's eradicated those killer T cells that were infected with that disease, your body keeps those antibodies forever. So the next time you come against that disease, you already have the antibodies in your body to fight it off. So it's not that you'll never get it, and it's not that it'll be weaker, but it's that your body has a better ability to respond to it and not be as affected by it as it would be if you hadn't had that immunization.